It is the final word. England, India daily. The first test, day 3 from Headingley, Geoff Lemon, with Cameron Ponsonby, clouds overlying the Headingley ground at Leeds. As Cam joins us from the ground, please tell us, Cameron, all about the day in the space of 30 seconds.
We have a cricket match. It is perfectly poised at the end of day 3. India are ahead by 96. India are also 2 wickets down going into day 4. We effectively played 3 days of cricket to end up exactly where we started. Even Perfect. Stevens, Harry Brook, 99, agonising. Fell agonisingly short of a test century on his home ground, but someone who didn't fall short of a landmark was Jasprit Bumrah. He got 5 for 83. And I know what you're thinking. Those figures are good. Wrong. By his own standards over the last year and a half, that makes his average worse. So Jasprit Bumrah has a bad day with the ball is the main storyline from here at day 3 at Headingley.
Mm-hmm. Even though he got it to absolutely kick back a couple of times, knocked over some stumps. We'll come back to him. I thought it would have made his average go down because he was 19. What was he, 19.4?
It is his career average will go down, but since the start of 2024, he averages about 14 with the ball, and these are the standards we now hold him to. So that is what he needs to do to improve. Unfortunately, Jasprit, you've let your side down today.
Yep, you've let yourself down, you've let your family down, you've let the Indian cricketing public down. But yeah, his career average will have dipped because 5 for 80, he's taken them at less than 20. 5 for 100 would be 20. Even I can do those maths. Ridiculous player. Right, let's go back to the start of the day. The show, I should say, is brought to you by New Brew, the think drink specialists. We'll come back to them later in the program. 209 for 3 when the day begins. Brook and Pope. So Joe Root out just before stumps the previous night, and then Pope's gone pretty quickly the next morning for 106. Ordinary shot, bad ball, I would say, from Prasidh Krishna. Short, wide, threw the bat at it, nicked it. You've seen it before, you'll see it again. And then Ben Stokes did the sort of Ben Stokes part 1 bit of Headingley without the part 2 bit, where he grounded out for a while, as he likes to do early in his innings, made 20 in pretty slow time, and then a bit of a way movement from Mohammad Siraj with the seam, and Ben Stokes nicked it. So at least the supporting cast got a couple. Prasidh Krishna got one, and Mohammad Siraj got one, and it didn't have to all be Jasprit Bumrah. But then it's Brook settling in with some outrageous shots during his innings with Jamie Smith, who's continuing to impress in that wicketkeeper spot at 7.
Yeah, people kind of played their role today. It's a score total of 465 from England with only one centurion whose top score was 106. Admittedly, yes, Brook got 99. But you compare that to India, who had 3 centurions in their version of 470. And I believe that is the lowest test score in history to have 3 centurions in it. And the final total will only be 470. So it's kind of a bit of compare and contrast where everyone, bar Crawley and Bashir, who was not out at the end for England, made it to double figures. And I think Daniel Norcross on the show yesterday kind of pointed to that fact being that England's tail is stronger than India's tail. And the difference that can make in a match exactly like this, where we know here at Headingley, recent history suggests that it gets better to bat on over time. The batting averages kind of soar towards day 5 rather than kind of falling off in the other direction. And it feels like that could potentially be the deciding factor because India are going to have a bat now. We imagine they'll bat through tomorrow, get a total on the board, and then it's going to be a day 5 chase for England. It is a rare case of a match actually being perfectly poised. There's no favourites at the moment. WinViz, Ben Jones, we've got rid of Ben Jones, by the way, and thank goodness for that. We've replaced him.
His time has come.
His time is finished. The WinViz at the moment, it's just kind of is perfectly split where you've got kind of like 40% England, 40% on India, 20% draw. It's been a wonderful day and it's set up for another fantastic two 48 hours, 2 lots of 24 hours. That's what I was going to say.
2 lots of 24. Yeah, Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte worked that out, and you too can figure that out. That was probably that movie came out before you were born. I would think probably came out before I was.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Anyway, the Jamie Smith bit at the piece is interesting. He gives the ball a clobber, and sometimes maybe not as advisedly as it could. I was amused by the bouncer sequence with Jamie Smith, where he's got Prasidh Krishna bumping him. He's got 4 out for the hook on the leg side, and he goes the big hook shot for 6, which he hits over the fielders. The one that misses the toe end of the bat. They review it. He hasn't hit it. He's given not out. And the very next ball, he smacks it to deep mid-wicket. Jadeja takes the catch, is falling over the rope, backhands it, sort of tosses it back in with his left hand as he's going over, and Sai Sudarshan is there to take a catch. Didn't make a run in the first innings, but at least got on the scoreboard there. A score involvement, you might call it. And it was a curious set of choices, I guess, from Smith and, we'll come to Brook, who had a similar level of choice, similar quality of choice, perhaps a bit later.
I think curious is actually a really good way to describe this test match, because I kind of caught myself there just saying about how amazing everything's been. And yes, the cricket match has been amazing, and in pockets, and for the majority of this match, we are seeing cricket at the highest level in front of a packed stadium, two kind of, not giants of the game per se. I'm not saying that like kind of England are one of the great teams to ever play, and you have a new generation of India, but you have spectacular cricketers on show doing spectacular things. But they're both teams are kind of in fourth gear at the moment, if you really think about it. India have dropped kind of, I think it was 5 catches across the innings or 4 catches today, and that's the most they've dropped in any one day in about 5 years. England, they've got back up to India. They've pulled a game back that was leaving them when India were about 440 for 3 or 4. And at that point you go, right, England are well out of this. Now you cut to the end of day 3 and they're level pegging. So you're like, brilliant, they've done really well. Actually, though, both Jamie Smith and Harry Brook kind of fell to this short ball ploy, which they weren't tricking them. It wasn't a surprise. They just put all the fielders out there and they just hit it to the men. And I think that's kind of almost bodes very well for the rest of the series, where that both these sides have levels to go to as well. CricViz's Ben Jones, as I refer to him, gave us a stat before we came on air about how Jasprit Bumrah, since kind of the beginning of the Border Gavaskar Trophy, has been averaging whatever it is, 15 with the ball, and all the rest
13,
of
I think,
India,
13
and the rest of India's seamers are averaging 40. You go to the first day here with England's bowlers, they weren't bad. England weren't terrible with the ball by any stretch on day one, but they just missed a little bit. So we're still, even at this stage where we have this kind of perfect setup to a match, we also know that over the course of the summer, both these teams will potentially find another gear or two to go into, and things are going to get even better. They're going to get even better, Geoff.
They're going to get even better. You're very upbeat today. It's like you've got an ECB contract has been
I've had some new brew.
Pocket.
I've had some new brew. There we go.
Ready to charge. We'll get to that before the break. But let's talk about that Indian bowling situation. So they've said that probably Bumrah is going to play 3 test matches. It seems to me that India need to win all of those test matches, because the rest of what they've got, well, if they've got players who are not good enough to get in this side, judged against the ones who did get in this side, they're going to struggle unless they get very friendly bowling conditions. If they get pitches like these, England are going to score a lot of runs if he's not there. So, I mean, what do they do? How does the bench depth stack up? And it seems like India have got this chance when Bumrah plays, and that's it.
Well, I think you can go one of 2 ways. So we mentioned kind of India's second team bowlers. We go Bumrah and the rest. Prasid Krishna today, kind of the metronomic bowler that he is meant to be. He's bowled 20 overs, he's taken 3 wickets, but he's gone for 128 runs. Like, England's plans are like pretty crystal clear. Rather than it's a case of whack the spinner, get more overs in the legs of the seamers, it's whack all the other seamers, make them bring almost Bumrah back and tire him out over the course of the series. I guess India's plan B would be play 1 fewer seamer and you can go to Kuldeep Yadav. We were thinking this at the end of today when England's tail end, like Chris Woakes batting beautifully I think he made kind of 38 exactly. Bryden cast 22 at a runner ball. They were kind of really going front foot against these kind of seam bowlers. Whereas you could go, shall we go Kuldeep Yadav? Could he potentially be the difference maker that when England do have this elongated tail that they're able to potentially use to their advantage, we have this kind of trump card, that this different bowler, this complete point of difference who bowls left arm wrist spin, and whether that may come into the equation if India are missing one kind of star bowler, magic man, bring in the other.
Right. This part of the equation is interesting. I'll come to Chris Woakes in a second. So they've got this plan that you're talking about to go after the other seamers, but the choice, the decision making by England and by Jamie Smith and Brook particularly seemed daft today. So 3 balls before the new ball is due, and Jasprit Bumrah is obviously immediately going to take it, is when Jamie Smith gets out. So he opens the possibility of Bumrah running through the rest of the side. It's not exactly what happens, because Chris Woakes at number 8 is a very secure operator, and he's able to play well. But then Brook gets out to the bowler at the other end as well. Again, it's Prasad Krishna, isn't it? Just banging one in, and he has a little hook at it.
Yeah.
And this is after he's been dropped off Bumrah, we must say. So let's come to that first. Obviously, new slip cordon for India. Kohli's not there, Rohit's not there, so they've had to shake things up. They've got Jasprit in the gully. He had a kind of half chance early in the game that he put down. He had another catch earlier in the innings that he dropped as well off Ollie Pope, who went on to make 100. Rishabh Pant dropped Brook at one point, keeping up to the stumps, and then Jasprit drops Brook in the gully on about 80. The reactions from Shubman Gill and Gautam Gambhir on the field and in the box, respectively, not good. If you shell a catch and your captain's kind of punching the air in anger, and your coach is sitting up there looking like he's watching a funeral, shaking his head and cursing to himself, like, that's bad optics. Obviously, the cameras are going to be on you. You've got to be able to deal with dropping a catch. And I think you've probably got to expect some catches to go down when you've got a new cordon trying to bed itself in with young players. But either way, all 3 or 4 catches have gone down off Bumrah's bowling, so along with the 5 wickets he took, so he couldn't have done much more.
I think it's really hard when people kind of go, oh, we need to work more on our catching. Like, drop catches at this level with the players who are this good are kind of individual aberrations. Who are we talking about here who's dropped the catch? You've got Ravindra Jadeja, who put Duckett down. Him dropping a catch isn't through a lack of practice. It's just that everyone drops catches occasionally. I don't think this is a kind of precursor to a summer of disaster for India where they're going to be shelling everything. You've got Karen Nair, which I love this, by the way. Hasn't played a test match in 8 years. Comes straight in at first grabber and got one on day 2. It was from Zach Crawley immediately. I wouldn't worry about that from India's perspective, because that will just they will take their catches. They're obviously good enough. I do notice that Jaiswal is really heavily strapped both his hands, and I wonder if that's kind of, he's obviously got maybe a problem with hot spots, and that's being an issue. And if that's in his mind, then like, what can you do? But on the flip side, England kind of kept on serving up catches. They did fall for this short ball ploy, which, well, kind of Harry Brook went to it, and it was more. Sorry, Jamie Smith fell early before the new ball came back. And it was a surprise it worked. And I was listening back to the BBC commentary, and it's Michael Vaughan, I think, doing it for the TV highlights. And I had the exact same experience as him. Harry Brook on 99, you see the ball bowled, and he kind of rolls his wrists on a pull shot. I'm up in the box, and from my angle on it, I can't see fine leg. So I just go, 1 run. Lovely. A test century on his home ground. What a lovely moment for everyone involved. And then you just see him sink to his haunches. And Michael Vaughan on commentary did exactly the same thing. So I went to watch it to be like, what actually just happened there? And Vaughan goes like, and there it is. There it's not, basically. It's went straight to the... I'm being a bit of mayo on that. That wasn't exactly how it went. But
right,
it's kind of that kind of case 22 where, again, we go back to both teams not actually being perfect. India are dropping catches. England have still given their wickets away. And it provides, I keep on going back to this, it sets us up well. We're in the middle of the story here, Geoff. There's no conclusions yet. What can we say that which we can put a bow on? We don't know what's going to happen.
Well,
no one can predict anything.
It just felt to me like India blew it with their batting because they should have made 580 and they didn't. And then England rather blew it because they could have caught up and got themselves a lead instead of ending up 6 short. So Harry Brook, had he made that 100, it would have been 9 centuries in 26 tests, which is an insane conversion rate, but he's going to have to settle for 8. He's never been out in the 90s before, but he was there with that hook down to fine leg. And then, from an England perspective, thank God for Chris Wokes, because he's just stable with the bat at 8. He didn't bowl well, but he's got that ability to drive nicely down the ground. He puts on 50 odd with Bryden Cast and gets them from just short of 400 to just short of India's total of 471. He ends up with 38 before Bumrah comes back and knocks him over. I'm going to come to that spell in the Hall of Fame because I enjoyed some things about that particularly, and finishes it off as well. Gets rid of Josh Tongue to end up with that 5 for 83. So 210 test wickets went past Saqlain Mushtaq and Stuart McGill on the all-time list today. And it looks still decent for batting, I think. Well, what's your read from the ground? There were those 2 balls that really took off that jumped over Rishabh from not that short of a length. But aside from that, it looks like it should be decent for India to bat on day 4.
it's going to keep being fine. There was that one ball from Bumrah that you mentioned, which leapt from a length over Rishabh Pant, and that was exciting. But it was also the point that it was Bumrah. That was just another point of difference for the point of difference player in world cricket. I don't think you learnt too much from an India perspective in that last kind of 23 over period. Jaiswal nicked off early. What happened? Sudarshan, he got off the mark. He only made, I think it was 30, but having got a duck in the first innings, he'll feel so much better for it. I do think you learned things about England and kind of the more kind of new age England, where the steelier-eyed England, I'm kind of thinking of it as they've come into this summer and now they're not kidding anyone. They're not saying things like, we're not worried about the results. They know that this is a legacy-defining period of 5 matches against India, then 5 matches against Australia. And what I mean by that was the bowling changes that Ben Stokes made. Yes, on the one hand, he was almost less proactive than he normally is. Kind of Chris Woakes bowled 6 up top. He didn't really change the field too much. That was more settled. But on the flip side, you had a look at Bryden Cast with the new ball, and he ripped out the opener, ripped out Jaiswal whilst going at 5.5s and being able to play that role of being that wicket-taking, hammering a hard length, but with the new ball bowler, which we expect him to potentially have to do quite a lot over the next 10 test matches. But what I thought was really interesting is he went to Bashir really early. It was just 12 overs had been bowled. Compare that to in the first innings where it was about 50 overs in. Bashir bowled 1 over. Really windy day, as you can tell if you're watching on YouTube, because hair's going everywhere. It's windy up in Leeds. Bashir bowled kind of 1 drag down. It didn't work. And for the first time that I can ever recall, Stokes just yanked him. Just went, that's it, that's done. I'm now bowling, basically. And again, it comes back to this is a new shape to England. Are you a bit meaner? Rather than being like, you guys just bowl to your heart's content, you're going to settle. Stokes saw a game meandering and basically took it by the scruff of his neck, its neck, and was like, I'm going to bowl again. And across this test match, Ben Stokes has been England's best bowler, which I think is a bit of a revelation, because whenever you think about Ben Stokes' greatest moments in an England shirt, you think about them most of the time with the bat. You have Cape Town 2020, where he single-handedly wins England a test match from a position that kind of seemed like it was petering out to a draw. But for the most part, you think Ben Stokes, batter who bowls. Now, in his current form, whilst his hamstrings might be screaming at him, he is kind of 2 equal parts, if not the bowling is almost his strongest suit at this moment of time. And he was rewarded with the wicket of Sudarshan. And it was a nice moment as well. I always get intrigued when you see people running and pointing. It was a celebration. I'm like, what's happened? What's gone on? Who said what? And they just moved Zach Crawley from leg slip to kind of a short mid wicket, and he clipped it immediately to the fielder. So a nice moment for England there, and a good snapshot of the kind of different styles of captaincy that are taking place this summer.
Yep. So it was Jaiswal out early, and then Sudarshan at least made a few after making a duck in the first innings. We're invested in his performance on the final word, given we had him on as an interview guest. So he made 30. KL Rahul's still there on 47. Shubman Gill, 6 not out. They'll resume tomorrow with a lead of just almost 100. They're 96 in front there.
96.
2 for 90. 90 for 2. On our way to the break, New Brew have sponsored the show. They're a product to support brain health and performance. Your brain is the most important asset you've got. That's the bit that matters. So they're all about trying to find ways to support that and help your brain work at its best using a beverage where a whole bunch of ingredients that are very useful for you are mixed together in an easy-to-drink form. They're called Nootropics. You can check all those out on the website and find out what's there and what it does. I'm holding up to the camera a tiny sachet of the New Brew Advantage, which is the most common, most popular product, which is basically about clarity, memory, focus, things like that. This is the Perfectly Peach flavour. I understand you've been nailing a few across the range. What flavours have you gone for?
I've been going blue raspberry, and now I'm annoyed at myself because I've got the Perfectly Peach one, and I haven't had that one yet. But I like to use it when I'm settling down for a kind of like, okay, I'm gonna have a power hour or 2 of work. I'll go right. Let's chuck in some New Brew, and let's just see this work disappear. Let's see my fingers turn into a haze as it rattles the keyboard. I've enjoyed it. It's been nice.
Very good. They have got a 15% discount if you're listening to this show. Noobrew, spelled noobru.com/final word. That will be applied automatically at checkout. Read up on them, see what they've got to offer. A lot of information on the website there. We'll be back in a moment. It's the final word. Daily England, India, the Hall of Fame. I'm going to go, Cameron, to the moment just before what would have been the tea break when Shardul Thakur was going to get an over, took his jumper off, chatted to his captain, chatted to the umpire, and then at the last minute, Shubman Gill said, actually, get dressed, buddy. Put the kit back on, champion. Go and have a graze. You're off. I'm going to get Jasprit Bumrah on to bowl the 1 over before tea. As it turned out, extended session because Bumrah gets one to carve back, knocks over Chris Wokes, who's been batting beautifully, and then follows up a little later and knocks over Josh Tongue to end the innings. But a inspired piece of captaincy. Why not use your best player? Who would think to use your best bowler rather than to use a guy who they've like, well, we need an all-rounder for options and for stability, and our all-rounder is going to get knocked over for 1 with the bat, and then he's going to bowl 6 overs out of 100, and no one's even going to remember that he's there, except for this one vignette. So I feel a bit for Shardul, who we enjoy the work of on the show.
He'll be all right.
But he'll be okay. He'll keep getting picked to do nothing and getting paid a wage for it.
It's very kind of Ricky Ponting masterclass areas of captaincy where it's like, he's a genius. Or was he a genius and went, Glenn McGrath, you have a bowl. Seamer's a bit tired. Shane Warne, you have a roll. We need some pace. Brett Lee, okay. Everywhere you turn, it's a good decision. Shubman Gill has the luxury of just basically going like, you know what I'm going to do? This could change the game. I'm going to bring on Jasprit Bumrah, who again had a bad game today. Unlucky.
Best bowler in the world. I think I might use him. I think I might give him a go rather than holding him back until after the tea break because I don't want him to bowl a 1 over spell. Why not say if he bowls a 1 over spell, it might end the innings and we might get to go and enjoy a sandwich.
Perfect.
It was clever.
My Hall of Fame was when Ben Stokes got out. And I don't know if the cameras really picked this up because I tried to find it on a replay. So he's nicked one through off Mohammad Siraj. He's thrown his bat so high in the air. It was quite scary. It was like one of those, like, you know, tombola jugglers where they like launch it and it's spinning and they catch it again. It was exactly what he did, and he kind of somehow managed to drop it a second time on his way off. And I got a bit scared because I went, that's gone a long way. I'm worried you're gonna have to try and catch that, and if it hits you, that's actually gonna be quite sore.
And it's heavy.
It was also very impressive, and also more to the point, it then further proves his kind of superior athletic capabilities. They just caught it like no issue here. It was absolutely fine, and I liked it. It was a note for this is a quiet, modest one. There was an all-round fault between Sudarshan and KL Rahul, and I just think it requires noting as opposed to requiring any deliberation. But just so you all know, it happened. There was an all-round fault here today at Headingley.
Which it's not the biggest ground, and it's a pretty fast outfield. So you wouldn't expect.
How does it happen?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. What can you do?
How do you just tip it away with just enough pace that it doesn't make the boundary? I don't know. Yeah, the throwing it in the air thing's a bit scarier. When we do Olympics coverage every 4 years, the rhythmic gymnastics is what ends up being one of my favourite pursuits because they're so bloody good at throwing things in the air and catching them. Nobody, people always trash talk that as just waving a ribbon around. You go try to catch a ball with your feet that you just thrown 40 metres in the air. Go on.
Ben
40
Stokes,
might be an exaggeration.
Dual athlete 2028, cricket and bat and throwing.
I think given the exploding hamstrings, he probably doesn't have the flexibility for the gymnastics, but I'd like to see him give it a go. Do a hand spring. If Rishabh Pant can do a forward hand spring, then Ben Stokes can probably do one too. Right. That is enough, I think, from us. That can be the final word daily for day 3, England, India at Headingley. Thanks to newbrew.com/final word to get their link. That's in the show notes. Thanks for listening and watching. If you want to support what we do on the show, patreon.com/the final word. Cameron Ponsonby, thanks for joining us. Go and enjoy your knockoff for the evening, and we'll see you on day 4.